The Qiao Hao before she was 10 years old possessed the world's purest form of happiness. She had a successful father and a loving mother. But on the year she turned 10, she lost her happiness in just one night. It was a Thursday and her parents were going to participate in a charity dinner. Before leaving, her father had patiently helped her finish her homework. He had solved the most difficult questions for her. Her mother had run a bath and prepared a set of pretty clothes for her to wear to school the next day. At that time, Qiao Hao acted like a little adult. She sent her parents all the way to the door and instructed them to look out for their safety. She must have looked adorable at that time as they both kissed her on her forehead before waving goodbye and driving off. Her mother had trained Qiao Hao to be an independent girl. Every time after she showered, she would request for Qiao Hao to wash her own socks, but every time, she would come up with a different excuse to escape that responsibility. But that day, she decided to wash her socks on a whim. She washed her socks seriously and had even hung her clothes nicely. Sweetness spread across her heart as she thought of how proud her mother would be. But on the second day, when she opened her eyes, it wasn't to her mother's praise but to her uncle's eyes. He asked if she wanted to come stay at his house for a while. At 10 years old, she was still just a kid. She didn't detect the difference in her uncle's eyes and, since every time her parents were busy, she would be sent to stay at her uncle's house temporarily, she nodded in agreement, even packing her own luggage. Her uncle had a daughter that was of the same age who she had a close relationship with. Every kid would be happier with company, hence she didn't suspect anything. But when her parents didn't come after a long time, she decided to ask her aunt and uncle. They told her that her parents were overseas and would only be back after a while. She believed them. But one day, when she had quarreled with her cousin over a toy, she told her that her parents were dead and would never be back. The Qiao Hao at that time didn't understand the concept of death, but she could fully understand the meaning of never be back. In her fear and horror, she broke into tears in an instant, waking her aunt and uncle. That night, her cousin was sent to the study room to be punished while her aunt and uncle spent half the night trying to console Qiao Hao, telling her that they would rush back. She truly believed their words then, but later, after many days, she started to pester them, asking when her parents would come back. Gradually, she stopped asking, understanding her cousin's words. Her aunt and uncle had always treated her well. Everything her cousin had, she would have, sometimes even better. But even though she was grateful, she could never feel secure.